documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know, in your opinion, what the documentaries and journalism have in common, and what they don't have in common.
With filmmaking.
Filmmaking, yeah.
That's a complicated subject, but I'll try to simplify it. The journalist works in the documentary form, using the visual language one way, and the filmmaker works in the documentary form using the visual language another way. They overlap, but they really are different. When one tries to define what is professional journalism, one talks about the mandate that it be fair and objective, the mandate that it serve a public purpose within a democratic society. There's certain criteria that is applied to journalism, that are applied to journalism that are not applied to documentary filmmaking. I think that it's a long discussion to say how they differ from one another. Both filmmakers and journalists use various genres of filmmaking. You can have cinema verite, for example, in journalism, and in filmmaking you can have the factual report in both. Their techniques may be different, but as I say, there are many things that are overlapping. If I tried to identify the one thing where they are most different, I would say it's in the voice of the author. In journalism, the voice of the author is anonymous in a way. It isn't really, because you see who the producer is and who the reporter is, but it's an objective voice. And in filmmaking, it's a subjective voice. In journalism, it's an objective eye. Often the author, so-called author, the reporter, the correspondent, the producer is working with a camera person and in a team, so that it's more of a collective operation. With a filmmaker, there is that personal authorship and point of view that is different. And the journalist adheres to a stricter, if they're dealing with factual material, which they are, that the journalist has to adhere to a stricter code in fairness, in balance, and in the ordering of facts, for example, whereas the filmmaker can take liberties in order to insist on a particular viewpoint that they want to bring to that film.
But a documentary course could be easily taught on a journalism course. Is there, would you say that documentaries are, in which documentaries differ from news, from reporting of news? Just the time?
Time and depth. I mean, the time, let's say, depth is a function of time. Time is such an interesting study in itself in reporting. How long it takes you to do a story, how long you have. We call it in journalism, a documentary, long form reporting. And you have more time to do your research, and you have more time to, that's not the only difference. I mean, your whole approach to the story. News is what happens at a particular moment, or if it's a feature story, it might have a little wider circle of reference. In a documentary, there is the obligation and the intent to present the particular thing and the particular report that you're doing in the context of the whole. I won't go over the edges of philosophy and say you never have the whole. You never do have the whole, but you certainly have a wider circle of reference in the long form of journalism.
Even in that long form, you are supposed to have balance, to have both sides expressed, and so on.
In the mass media definition. There is a personal voice also in the mainstream of journalism, clearly identified, but it is much more interpretive. You don't see a lot of interpretive journalism on the part of filmmakers. What you find is an advocacy of a personal view, whereas a journalist, in advancing what you might call a personal view, is actually not that so much as it is this journalist's attempt to make sense out of this story for the viewer, which is a different kind of role than trying to lead the viewer to see a story from a particular point of view. There still is that obligation to amass the information in a way that will help make sense out of, let us say, a large number of factors involved in the particular story that you're dealing with.
Good. Well, do you know maybe at this time that in Brazil you have journalism for undergraduate course? The first course on graduate on journalism is starting this year, the following year. And what do you think about teaching on the undergraduate or graduate? How it works in one way or another way? Would it be better to teach on the graduate, which is the way of Columbia?
Well, that's an interesting question, and a matter of different practices in this country. I could tell you the Columbia view. I could describe the other two, but the Columbia view is that when a student comes to our school, we presume and have as a requirement that they have the full complement of their undergraduate work in the intellectual disciplines. That's the background. We feel that for somebody to be a good reporter and writer, they ought to know something, have an intellectual resource bank that is as full as it might be from their undergraduate years. That's a real philosophical difference with undergraduate journalism education, in which, let us say, it's about 1/3 of the time is spent in reporting and writing and learning about journalism.
And the other?
And 2/3 is spent in your undergraduate other studies, whether it's economics or political science or history or psychology or whatever. But they're not getting their full undergraduate exposure. Our feeling is there's so much to learn in today's world. Use your undergraduate years to learn as much as you possibly can in the disciplines so that you have an intellectual resource bank from which to write. In addition, in this school, 80% of our students come with some experience in the field, at least 1 year, and many of them with 5 years experience and more. They come to hone their skills. They come to develop specialty areas of reporting, specialized areas of reporting, and to position themselves in the professional world with those courses that we offer that puts the whole practice of journalism in context. Our First Amendment law course, which is pretty much run like a law course, and a course that we call Critical Issues in Journalism, in which the students deal with historical themes in journalism, ethical issues, technological developments, and developments in the business side of the industry, so that they get a sense of the whole of journalism today.
Okay.
But that undergraduate versus graduate is a different matter in some other schools. I should also say that a fair percentage of our students here come with graduate degrees in other fields. The average age of our student population is 28. And so it's an adult population for the most part. Only 20% of the class come directly from college. We have lawyers, doctors, priests, computer programmers, PhDs in political science, history, people who have been teaching for many years, who want to use that expertise in a journalistic way and want to learn the skills to do that.
And they succeed, I guess, to be specialized journalists on the field they have undergraduated.
Mhm.
Most of them become journalists on that field, or they may have to change careers. Do you have some idea about that? I mean, if they study, for instance, law,
Mhm.
they in the undergraduate they graduate on journalism. They are supposed to be specialized journalists on something.
Well, sometimes, lawyers want to switch careers. Law course is a graduate course as well. Sometimes some of the people who have law degrees have been out practicing for 5 years, and they say they're interested in the law, but they're not interested in the practice of the law. They'd rather write about it. They'd rather report about it. There are many, as by the way, there are journalists in law school who decide they've had enough of journalism and they'd like to become lawyers, or some combination of the two. In fact, one of our graduates was written up this month in the Times who did exactly that. He was a lawyer who came here to become a journalist, and he's just done a book that's being very well received on some combination of the two.
Good. And after graduating here, they become specialized journalists, probably.
Some try, some it depends on the experience of the individual. It depends on what their background and experience is. Many of them go into general assignment reporting. On good papers, we get a lot of recruiting here at the school, and in general, they're doing quite well right from the beginning in the marketplace. Those who have more, come with an advanced degree, take a different kind of track and look for assignments in their particular area of specialty.
How, in general lines, how the course is structured? It's few months, that's right, 1 year?
1 year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the disciplines? How is it structured?
The program presumes and has as a basic philosophy that reporting and writing and in print reporting and writing is the basis of all good journalism. Whether you're going into broadcast journalism or wire services or magazine journalism, you have to know how to write and report, how to get all the facts of a story and how to put it together. So there are many requirements in that. That's the basic core course, is called Reporting and Writing, and it's a print course. We have 2 semesters. Everybody takes that course in the first semester. In addition to that, they take the law course, and they take this critical issues course, and they have an opportunity to take an elective, what we call an elective. And those electives are in 2 different areas. One is it's either an area of a subject matter area of reporting, like legal affairs reporting or urban affairs reporting or international reporting, or they can begin to specialize right in the first semester in a particular genre or a particular concentration, television or magazine. So if you want to become television, radio, or magazine. So there's an elective whereby you can begin to practice the craft in your area of interest. There are also some short courses that are required here in the first semester. For example, computer-assisted reporting. That's a specialized skill, and every student takes a little bit of it. Every student in the school takes a little bit of radio. Every student in the school is now required to take a little bit of television. It's a couple of days of each of these. So because all of the media are coming together, and because one never knows where one's career is going to end up, our presumption is that all the students who graduate from this school should have an understanding, a quick understanding of all of those new languages or different languages from print. In the spring term, there are two basic components of the curriculum. One is a seminar in a specialized area of reporting. That's 2 full days of reporting, and again, it's in urban affairs, national affairs, international affairs, legal affairs. There are areas of specialized reporting. And 2 days are in your area of specialty. If you want to be a magazine journalist, if you want to be a broadcast journalist, or if you want to be a wire service journalist or a daily or weekly newspaper journalist, there are what we call 2-day workshops. That accounts for 4 days of the week in the spring term, and then there's 1 day open for electives. And there's a wide variety of electives, which is also shorter courses or less demanding courses, and a wide variety of disciplines. I'll be happy to show you what the outline is for the spring. Which
And well, what makes Columbia so famous, in your opinion?
It's good, and it's focused, and it has a central driving philosophy that's an essential one for this society, and that even as mass communications changes so much, I mean, we're living in a time of transformation of the communication of information, that even with all the technological changes, which is a real challenge to us to keep up with, financially, if nothing else, with all of the buzzword, you know what a buzzword is? A buzzword is, this little catch word that now labels what's happening. They call it convergence. Convergence is that with all the technology, the different forms of communication are coming together. That is simply the transmission of data, let us say in financial data worldwide, the transmission of news, public relations, that is industrial or cultural or whatever news from government or other agency sources, advertising, which is so heavily used for the communication of information. Even though those things are coming together in other schools and becoming, what should I say, merged in people's minds, this school understands and is committed to journalism as an institution in a democratic society with a free press, and that has moral obligations and social obligations and traditions of professional reporting, and that's what we teach here. And I think it is that clear commitment that attracts a certain kind of student. Because the application numbers are high, we really have a very elite core of students, known to be one of the best student bodies, and their record of accomplishment after they leave here in general bears that out. It's a long tradition of excellence in reporting, excellence in leadership in the profession.
You were telling me about some areas that are especially deep here, like history. Which are those areas?
You mean?
You tell me about some areas that are specialized here that makes Columbia University famous, like history.
I would say that it has more to do with our commitment to a definition of professional journalism. Even though this is a free press society and anybody can practice journalism, and anybody usually does practice journalism, anybody who wants to, and that there is a standard of excellence that this school helps to define, not only in the school, but in the other activities of the school as an institution. We have the Columbia Journalism Review, which is the most respected magazine of self-criticism for the industry, where we look at reporting and how it's done. We have the leading, we administer the leading prizes in the country, which is also a means of establishing excellence in performance. We have the DuPont Columbia Awards for Broadcast Journalism, the Pulitzer Prizes for print reporting, as well as other areas, the National Magazine Awards, and the Cabot Awards for accomplishment in reporting in Latin American affairs, as well as some smaller, less well-known awards. And all of that comes together to define some kind of standard for the industry, which no other school is really engaged in doing.
Good. Do you have a problem in Brazil that somehow may be also here and NYU, as George told me, but how to manage in the teacher's body to have academics and professionals? In journalism, it's such a technical and practical professions, and sometimes the requirement of an academic career may interfere. How to manage that? Professionals or the academics teaching?
We have a professional faculty.
Professional faculty.
We do.
They don't have to have a PhD or.
They do not have to have a PhD. We do have one slot on the faculty for that kind of research in the area of communications. We have one full-time slot, and in the past we've had one part-time slot for that. But this is a school that is not known for theoretical work.
So
we are we're a professional school, and the university has supported the school in its own terms. In other words, in the language of academia, when they are looking for credentials for tenure, which becomes the standard measurement of whether you have enough of a record of accomplishment, they are willing to consider journalistic credentials. Their demands are strong, and their standards are high, and they're looking for depth, but they're willing to consider it in the journalistic language, not in the language of academic research. I know that is a problem at many other schools, but up till now, this university has respected what this school has done.
Good. And do you, the professors can manage teaching here and working somewhere else? It's possible, or?
Our adjunct faculty. We have a very large adjunct faculty. We have 22 full-time faculty members, all of whom do some writing at the, on the side for magazines or coming out with books. In fact, we've had two faculty members publish books, 3 books from 2 faculty members in the last year. We have 70 adjuncts. That is people who are working in the profession and who come in and teach either with full-time faculty or courses on their own related to their specialty.
But those have their own profession and come here eventually to join a class or give a specific class.
A specific class. And they are an important addition to the school because the field changes so rapidly. Unlike the rest of academia, our curriculum doesn't change every day, but the content of our curriculum changes every day. Yeah. And so the contribution of the adjuncts are enormous. For example, even in the law class, it's run as our First Amendment law class. It's run like a law class, and we teach the seminal case histories that form the basis of First Amendment law in this country. That's what that is. But we also have a leading First Amendment lawyer come in for 2 lectures at the end on applied newsroom law, libel, privacy, all of those issues that practicing journalists are going to run into day by day on the job. And so happens, it's Floyd Abrams who does the course, who is a leading First Amendment lawyer here. And he comes in, I mean, he's not a full-time faculty member, he's coming in for a couple of lectures. He was the lawyer on the CNN tapes case. And so it starts off right at the top from what are the issues involved in that particular case? What had to be decided by the broadcast organization? What had to be decided by the reporter on the story or the correspondent? And he brings in tapes and case histories of a practical nature that are right up to today. As I say, the content of our curriculum changes all the time, and it's very different from, from a set academic discipline with an agreed upon series of lectures, without which this course is not a professional course. Time for the meeting?
It's 5 minutes to 10.
Okay. Good.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, it was, sure.
Okay.